What's up, Taiwan? I'm Yvonne Yang with 10 minutes of news from here in Taiwan and around the world. We start today with the top international headlines. China has fired its top weather official after a suspected spy balloon breached U.S. airspace. Chinese state media reported that Zhuang Guotai, who was the head of the China Meteorological Administration, was removed from his position on Friday. China says the balloon was not a spying device. They said it was for meteorological purposes and had been blown off course by strong winds. U.S. fighter jets shot down the balloon over the Atlantic Ocean on Saturday. The U.S. military later said it was searching for remnants of the device in water off the coast of South Carolina. Chinese officials have described the response from the U.S. as a, quote, overreaction. For more on the aftermath of the Chinese spy balloon in the U.S., our reporter Jaime Okang spoke to William Kim, a defense consultant with the Marathon Initiative in Washington, D.C.
Why did it take this long for the United States to shoot down this balloon?
It took long because officials did not want to down this balloon over a populated area. I mean, this was a very large payload on the balloon. It was size something like 3 buses. You also have to consider, if you're using a missile, like there's debris and stuff from that as well. So they did not judge the kind of the threat of the balloon to be worth the risk that you blow it up. And even over Montana, it's maybe less densely populated, but there's still people. There's still a non-zero chance that it lands on somebody's house or something like that. So that's really in the short answer why they waited until it was over water before shooting it. Now, once they did decide to shoot it, they actually managed to do it very quickly. I was somewhat surprised by this. This time they used a missile, which clearly got the job done a lot faster. And there's I had some questions about whether these missiles, the missile guidance would work against these balloons. They're not designed for that. They're designed for much faster targets. This is very slow. It can look at slow countermeasures that aircraft deploy, so chaff flares that that they're supposed to not hit. But at least when it comes to this missile, it did take it out.
There are reports that defense officials knew about the balloon since around January 28th. What should the U.S. do to prevent situations like this one from happening again?
The reporting is that the president did not know about this until Wednesday, by which time would already be over land. And the president did want to shoot it down initially, but then didn't, but was told, about the debris risk and then decided to wait until afterwards. But in terms of why it wasn't shot down earlier, I mean, it from a lot of the reporting, this stuff has happened before. It's happened, last year. It's happened under the previous administration, possibly even before that. So it seems that the standard practice is just not to shoot these things down. And one thing, yes, it is. You can talk about kind of the violation of U.S. airspace and they're not supposed to be there. And yeah, if they sent a plane over, the U.S. would not tolerate that. And when Russian planes fly near Alaska, they get intercepted by U.S. fighter aircraft. But I think part of the issue there is just that the U.S. again needs a more cost-effective way of shooting down these balloons as compared to using an F-22, firing a missile that costs $470,000. In this case, I think there is a favorable exchange. This balloon looked pretty big and pretty expensive. But in the future, you could be dealing with much smaller payloads, and they're not always going to be these multi-million-dollar big sensor packages, or they could potentially be decoys in the future. So this is why I think the U.S. is going to need some sort of whether that be directed energy or a cheaper missile or something that where they can do this regularly and not end up breaking the bank.
That was William Kim, a defense consultant with the Marathon Initiative in Washington, D.C., speaking to our reporter Jaime Okang. In Hong Kong, the trial of 47 pro-democracy activists and legislators begins on Monday. The group faces charges of conspiring to subvert state power for organizing a primary election in 2020. It's one of the most significant trials under the Beijing-imposed national security law, which cracks down on dissent in the city. 16 of the 47 facing charges have pleaded not guilty and will face a 90-day trial. The remaining 31, including pro-democracy activist Joshua Wong, entered a guilty plea. If convicted, they could face up to life in prison. Taiwan's government will donate $200,000 to Turkey after a large earthquake in the country killed scores of people. The magnitude 7.9 tremor hit the south of Turkey early on Monday morning. Shaking was felt in neighboring Syria and as far away as Israel. Turkish officials said the earthquake caused multiple buildings to collapse. Aftershocks have continued to rock the area, including one with a magnitude of 6.7. The United States Geological Survey, which is monitoring the earthquake, said it likely caused significant casualties. Turkey's government says it is deploying rescue units across the country in response.
Şu anda bütün valilerimiz görevlerinin başında, jandarma, emniyet, Türk Silahlı Kuvvetleri, AFAD ekiplerimiz, Kızılay ekiplerimiz ve şu anda Türkiye'nin birçok noktasından arama kurtarma ekipleri ilgili bölgelere.
Here in Taiwan, a prominent figure in the Buddhist community has died. Hsing founded the Guangshan organization in 1967. He died Sunday night at the age of 96. Hsing's health had been in decline for several years after suffering 2 strokes in 2011. He was known in Taiwan as one of the 4 heavenly kings of Buddhism. Hsing was also the honorary president of the World Fellowship of Buddhists. Unlike many other religious figures, he often took overt stances on political issues such as Taiwan's relations with China. His position sometimes caused controversy. Guangshan will hold a memorial service for the Buddhist master next Monday. Taiwan celebrated the Lantern Festival over the weekend. Crowds were able to gather for the first time since the pandemic to mark the holiday. John Van Trieste takes us on the tour of some of the highlights.
Since 1885, so the story goes, the people of Yanshui district in Tainan have gathered on the Lantern Festival for a fiery spectacle. It began with simple firecrackers, but has evolved into a 2-day pyrotechnic explosion. On Saturday, crowds in makeshift safety gear gathered as millions of rockets whizzed and sparked around them. Some launched from massive artillery boxes called beehives, where the rockets are lined up row after row. The tradition started as an appeal for divine help during an epidemic, but amid the COVID-19 pandemic, it was scaled back considerably. Now, with high vaccination rates and loosening restrictions, this year it's back on at full blast. 200,000 people are thought to have attended.
我们4座主炮城每一座大概将近200万发，所以这个光是4座主炮城打完风炮就已经天昏地暗了。但是其实大家就是过年讨个吉利嘛，讨个热闹。
But this is an event to take part in at your own risk. At least 12 people were injured this year, some seriously. An equally explosive show, which made a comeback this weekend, took place in the southeastern city of Taidong. This event, first held around 70 years ago, centers on a god of wealth who was said to hate cold weather. Tradition says the faithful have to keep him warm with firecrackers. The greater the rain of fire, the more wealth they will receive. Men in the role of this god take it in turns to get hit with a barrage of firecrackers. Usually they go bare-chested with minimal protection. But this year it was a VIP's turn to impersonate the god, Taidong's mayor. He was at least allowed a shirt. The event was also canceled for 2 years because of COVID. But now worshippers are back, and the mayor was on hand to celebrate.
非常的刺激哈，站上去觉得有一种业债业旺的感觉。相信我们今年下节一定是平安大花。
Across Taiwan, seasonal customs hit by COVID are re-emerging, a sign the country is settling into a new post-pandemic normal. Alex Chen and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Remember to download the TaiwanPlus app for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, today we leave you with images of cherry blossoms in southern Taiwan. I'm Yvonne. Take care and see you next time.